Faith, it's a beautiful thing. And it can be embodied in a religion, a tribe, a person, or even an idea. "85% of the world, according to populationeducation.org, believes in some sort of organized faith." 85%? How is it that we can all agree on that, but we can't agree on what is Taylor Swift's best song? For my Swifties, it's "Shake It Off, Shake It Off." And I've had to shake it off. I grew up with a really severe stutter. And growing up, I had no faith in myself. I believed that I had no value. I believed that none of the kids respected me or wanted to play with me. And I believed that there was no way up from where I was. Because even the teachers would tell me that. You see, when I went to school in second grade, I had just moved to a new school. My previous school up in Northeast Philadelphia, as a first-generation Asian in America, we played with every culture and background, and we had no problem. I moved to the suburbs, and the children saw me as a foreigner. New student, and I was a foreigner. I was the one Indian kid in a room of all white children, and I had big Coke bottle glasses. Yes, sexy. And the teacher, because of my stuttering so bad, it's like stepping on the gas and the brake at the same time in your car, and all that pressure goes here. I would get into 30-second, 60-second blocks like that. So they labeled me as mentally retarded. And they put me in special education classes. Now, I didn't mind because I had a new circle of friends. But I couldn't shake the thought that maybe I just don't quite belong here. And I wanted to prove myself to my new students at my new school that I had value, I had something. I loved soccer. So I went to recess, and I wanted to play with the kids, and they said, "No, you can't play with us." So I marched out on the field, and I said, "No. I can run really fast and have a great slide tackle. One of you teams picked me. I'm not moving." So they finally did. And when I ran on that grassy field like Usain Bolt and made my first slide tackle, woo! The ball flew across the field, and I stopped the goal. My team looked at me, "Oh, this kid can play." The cheers, woo! Finally, I'd been accepted. Finally, I had been accepted. And yet, when I moved into middle school, the bullying still didn't stop. After an assembly, coming back to class, I was at the back of the line. The most dangerous place to be, because that's where the bullies like to find people. 3 boys decided it would be funny to kick and punch me in the stairwell. One of them smashed my head against the concrete wall. And as my body slid down the wall, they started laughing and walked off to class. I got down the last flight of stairs and walked to my class. And my teacher asked me, "Roger, why are you so late?" With the boys already seated at the back of the room. I was holding back a tear, and I told my teacher, I tripped. I was not going to give them the satisfaction. But something had to change. My faith in myself was waning. I was losing faith in myself. And then something amazing happened. I watched the 1984 movie, The Karate Kid. Yeah. Here was a kid who moved to a new school like me. Here was a kid that got picked on for being different, just like me. And here was a kid that got beat up, and the teachers didn't see it, just like me. But being a first-generation Asian in America, my hardest obstacle was about to begin. Will my mommy let me? So I went home that day. Mommy, can I take karate, please? Beta, no, they're going to hurt you. My dreams were dashed. My karate dreams of being Bruce Lee or ninja was over. So I did the next best thing. I waited for Dad. Dad was eating a dinner, and amid the aroma of the saag paneer and the roti, he was finally done. He sat down on the couch and watching his favorite Nova or CNN, I don't even know what anymore. And I went to my dad. Daddy, can we go to karate class? I really, really want to try it. And he responded in his most stoic way. Okay, beta, we'll see. We go to karate class. We watch it. It's an hour-and-a-half long class. After 5 minutes, I am sold. We sign up for a year. Woo! Score! I had finally found something that I knew I could transform my life with. I knew that this was going to be the life-changing event that was going to transform me forever. When I joined class, I went 3 days a week. I took the 45-minute SEPTA bus ride to the school where the street was, and I had to walk another 3 blocks down a steep hill just to get to the studio. It didn't matter. I wanted to change that bad. I was so desperate. And when I went to class, guess what? I sucked. I was the worst at push-ups. I was the worst at jumping rope. I was the worst at sparring. And unfortunately, I thought this was going to be easier. I thought, kind of like you watch on the Kung Fu Theater in the afternoon, you climb the mountain and you find spiritual enlightenment. That didn't happen. It was just hard work and discipline. But I stuck with it. As I got my green belt, I got almost to a full split. As I got my brown belt, I was putting so much power into my moves, you could feel the snap in it. As a red belt, I could start doing jumping kicks. As a blue belt, just before black belt, I could do 60 push-ups, had a full split, and could do jump spinning 360 kicks. I had made myself into something new. And I could jump pretty fast, too. 120 jumps in 30 seconds. So I went from being the worst to being one of the best because I had faith in myself. I knew if I put in the work, it will pay off. Next step was black belt. I can't wait. So, black belt test. Different. I had to pay $100 for a pre-test. And that test was a joke. It was just another class. Now, this is paying $100 in the 80s. I'm thinking, wait a second, why did I have to do this? The next day, I went to my master, and I asked him, 13-year-old me, talking to this great grandmaster in his Korean English, and I asked him, excuse me, sir, I didn't think the class was a really good challenge. Why did I have to do that? Raja, you don't know what you're doing. Go back to class. I was devastated. Because with those words, I realized something. I had joined a belt factory. It's a Mick dojo. You put in your time, you get a belt. No honor. And that's not what I wanted. So 1 week before my black belt test, I decided to do something that any 13-year-old kid would do. I quit. A week before my black belt test. My parents would scream at me. My friends said I was crazy. But I knew something. I didn't want the belt. I wanted to become a black belt. And there's a big difference. Believe it and become it. That's what I wanted. And luckily for me, my friend had just quit that school and joined a new school. He said it was much better instructor and better training, so I had joined that school. And what a change it was. Like the three wise men, karate now became my North Star. I trained even harder. I had received my black belt 2.5 years later after that. By 16 years old, I had gone and competed in the World Championships and placed. I brought home 2 trophies. My faith in myself was starting to grow. I stood up to my bullies, and they all backed down. I decided I was going to have a larger dream. I made a 2-year plan to go to the Olympics. From 16 to 18, I trained 5 or 6 days a week for 4 or 5 hours a day. After high school, after clubs, after track and cross country, I then go to karate. My mom would pick me up in our red Chrysler station wagon with peanut butter jelly sandwich or a hot dog or some mac and cheese, and I'd go to karate and train harder than anybody else. 3 months after my 18th birthday, I went to a national East Coast qualifier. I beat out 400 other black belts and I made the Olympic team. Karate had transformed me. It was truly my guiding star. And other people start to notice too. When I went to my 30-year high school reunion, some of the same bullies that used to pick on me would come up and say, "Wow, Raja, you're so great. You've inspired me. I've seen you on social media. You got so many interviews on your show and this and that." I'm like, "Wow, you're so impressive." I wish you told me that 30 years ago. That would have been nice. But in reality, I don't blame those kids for who they were 30 years ago. We're all kids, we're all growing, we're all learning. We all have to learn to have faith in ourselves to grow. It's the same thing I teach my children. I think the greatest things I've done in my life are not, having an international best-selling book or 2 books up on Times Square or a live stream show with over 300 interviews in 18 months. I think the best things I've done is my wife and I just celebrated our 20th anniversary last year. And my son, who is on the ASD spectrum, just wrote his first book, and we're going to publish that. My daughter is now in cheerleading, and she's now taking control and feeling empowered with her body. And I'm setting the example to them that, see, everybody has challenges. You may have heard this phrase, you reap what you sow. Long ago, I planted that seed, and I had to learn and earn that respect and that faith in myself, and it wasn't easy. My job in cancer research in corporate America, people would use my data saying that Raja can't give presentations because a 10-minute presentation would take 20 minutes. So my managers would present the data for me, and they would get the promotion. And I wouldn't. I think my superpower is that if you hire me, you're going to get a promotion in a year. And I decided that that was not going to stop me. I twisted that anger into fuel and transformed myself through speaking. Years ago, no one would have told me that I could speak in front of an audience. Now I can speak on any topic, anytime, anywhere. I've spoken to crowds of up to 8,000 people. And now speaking is fun, and I'm still an imperfect speaker. But literally, when anybody now tells me that they don't value me, or they think that I can't do it, all I do is shake it off, believe it, and become it. Thank you.